Yeah, it is. Migration, Nikki, in The Sun on Sunday, and Suella Braverman.
Yeah, so Suella Braverman has taken over where Priti Patel left off, and she's basically saying that, well, she's vowing to deal with channel migrants. Really important point about this article, The Sun repeatedly refers to the people coming across the channel as illegal. They're not by international law definition. You're not illegal if you arrive. If you don't have the right paperwork and you come in and you enter, then you can potentially be illegal. So it's a really important distinction. I know it's subtle, but it's kind of the whole article is
subtlety, because I don't get that.
Well, so if you arrive somewhere, like you literally come up on port somewhere, that isn't breaking the law. You're allowed to do that the whole world over, to appear at a port. It's then if you enter the country, like maybe it's forged paperwork or without paperwork, that's the distinction. So there's no such thing as an illegal channel migrant, as in like being in the channel, being in the boat isn't illegal.
No, but if they land on our shores and they just wander off into Kent somewhere.
Yes, but that's the distinction. So it's important to say that you are allowed to try and seek a better life somewhere else. That isn't illegal in and of itself. So I just think it's important to say, because we don't really think about it like that. We think that everybody trying to come from another country is doing it illegally, you know, unless they're a different kind of immigrant.
But if they're coming across in small boats across the channel, then they might technically not be illegal immigrants until they land the boat, but they're trying to be. So we've got a right to stop them in the waters, haven't we, if they are trying to be an illegal immigrant?
But they're not necessarily trying, that's the thing. Some of them just don't have the right paperwork, or some of them are coming to claim, you know, that they're threatened back home, or, you know, they're refugees, they're refugee status. So it's just an important distinction, and we don't really make it that often. But to come back to what Suella Braverman is saying, she says that the Modern Slavery Act, which Theresa May updated, is causing us lots of problems, and that everybody is using it as you know, the kind of reason why they should be allowed to stay. The Modern Slavery Act distinguishes between being a slave here in the UK and other countries, and the number of people saying that they're a slave in Britain has gone up. But she's saying that actually people live here for sometimes 2-3 years and look like they're having a great time, you know, a good life, basically, and she thinks those claims are spurious. So...
Yeah, and is she saying there that she's going to clamp down on illegal immigration? Is there any substance to what she's saying there, or is it just a headline?
Well, at the minute...
Because we've heard it from every Home Secretary
exactly.
before.
At the minute, it's just a headline. The numbers of people attempting to come are going up, so that's what she's trying to address, and The Sun is very kind of pro her doing this. But I think, you know, again, and also... just to kind of put it into context, about the Modern Slavery Act, so people using that as a reason for why they should be allowed to stay. In 2009, there were 552 people saying it, and in 2021, that had gone up to 12,727. Wow. So you can see that the feeling from Suella Braverman is that there are people that are putting in spurious claims, like this isn't working.
And the problem is it costs money to even investigate those claims, doesn't it?
Yes, of course. So obviously there'll be lots of people who are saying, no, the Modern Slavery Act is a really important act of human rights, it's there to protect people. Actually, lots of people are involved in slavery or are enslaved. But, you know, again, it's one of those things where she's picking up the mantle from Priti Patel. She's, like, very, very determined that this is the right way to go with the voters. But she'll have to deliver on it.
But it is about securing the borders, isn't it, and letting people in who we want. In terms of migration, it was about taking back control, wasn't it? That was the mantra. So it's about...
That's from the Tory party, yes.
Yeah, so about taking back control of who we allow in as migrants, whether it's more or less than we currently have, and refugees and asylum seekers, but stopping everybody else. Yeah,
but I mean, the point, you know, from the Tory party, as it's become increasingly hardline about this kind of immigration, is that we don't seem to have a lot of sympathy with people that are fleeing situations that are terrible.
I think it's difficult, though, because it becomes a bit of an insult to voters' intelligence when, for instance, all these people are presented as refugees, when it's quite clear that a good chunk of them are migrants. I think even people... I'm very pro-migration. We shouldn't kind of rely on those kinds of conflations just to kind of pull at the heartstrings. If you want to have an argument about wanting more immigration, or even a more genuine, or more generous, I should say, asylum policy, you can't do that in a kind of underhand way or rely on lawyers to kind of fight these cases on asylum grounds or on modern slavery grounds or whatever. It's like just bypassing the electorate, and I think that's one of the things that's really inflamed this particular issue. And actually what's interesting is that, particularly on the question of legal migration, it's become very liberal since Brexit, and actually voters' attitudes softened towards immigration in large part in the years after Brexit because they felt like it was getting a grip on. You've got more of an opening there to say, what kind of immigration do we want? And you can have out that argument. But the more this issue of the boats in particular continues to kind of rumble on, the more you're going to see anti-immigration sentiment rise up because people won't feel like it's being dealt with.
Yeah.
Don't feel like
they
being
know,
consulted.
and we're getting this even this morning from that people know that it's costing the country a fortune to deal with every single case legally with the very expensive lawyers and detainment centres and all the rest of it. It's costing a fortune.
Well, people